I am Amy Schmidt, professor with extension and research responsibilities at the University of Nebraska-Lincoln, and appointments in biological systems engineering and animal science. And the work that the Schmidt Lab does is focused on working at the intersection of livestock production, crop production, and communities to ensure that agricultural operations are profitable, and at the same time that they're good neighbors to the communities that they operate in. So when I first started out in college at Iowa State, I was majoring in aerospace engineering. So I had met some students from ag engineering who introduced me to faculty over there. And after I met with them, I ended up switching after my first year. At the end of my undergraduate program, I took a waste management class, a graduate level course, and met a professor who was in extension waste management there. And he had an assistantship for a master's student and offered it to me. And so I ended up staying around to do my master's with him. And I just really liked the extension side of things after working with him. And so that got me into that area, and it's where I've been ever since. Linda's work, I thought, was really rewarding. Just because it was a long-term project. And for those that don't know, Linda was a PhD student. She's now faculty at University of Idaho. But that work was on 2 different farms, so on-farm research up in the Sandhills. And we were looking at beef manure, swine manure, and then cedar tree mulch as amendments for crop fields. And so we worked up there over 3 seasons, doing soil sampling and crop yield sampling. And that was probably my first real working with, we had a lot of different groups involved in that. So Forest Service, the Natural Resources District, NRCS, we had schools near those on-farm research sites that were involved. And it just turned out to be a pretty cool project all along the way. So my first job out of my master's, I worked in industry for a company called Premium Standard Farms. They were in North Missouri, and they had about 2.5 million hogs on feed in North Missouri, and they had a packing plant. So I was the environmental engineer for that company. The company was looking at some new technology for using like pyrolysis to break down organic materials into a crude oil that could be processed as a biofuel. And we had collected a bunch of manure solids from one site, but then my boss sent me down to the packing plant about an hour away to get a 5-gallon bucket of offal, which from a packing plant means the things they don't use for when they process an animal. And then he bought this hand meat grinder, the kind that you crank, and had me process that bucket of offal through the meat grinder to mix with compost or with solids to send for this lab to work on. And it was pretty disgusting. But that was probably my grossest task that I ever had to do. My goal would be to have a condo in downtown St. Louis, right next to the ballpark, and be one of those people who show you where your seats are at games. So I get to go to every single game and just be an usher, and I can still watch the games. And then when winter comes, then I would go to Florida and enjoy spring training baseball down there until Major League Baseball starts back up.